Hello guys, so this is the machine, the direct drive email that was shipped to me from Nigeria to the UK, and this is me trying to see what's inside the carton, what it looks like, if there's any difference from what I had back home. Okay, so these are the parts of the machine, the legs, the table, all the things needed to set this up. And these are my tools. I have my drill here. In this environment, you don't know what could be considered as noise, so as much as possible I avoided hammer and the rest because of noise. So these are the nuts that we'll be using to secure the machine. The nuts comes in different sizes, and as we progress you'll see where they are being used. As much as possible, I tried to make this as detailed as possible because when I got this and realized there was no manual, I was really sad. But looking up to YouTube, I didn't really get a comprehensive video. I was just juggling from one video to the other. Okay, so this is the leg, and this red stuff, you have to place it to match up the hole at the bottom of the leg stand. Then with the one I'm tightening, you just place it on top and screw it tightly. Like everything you are doing on this machine has to be very tight. It's a heavy duty, so you don't want it to be wobbling when you are sewing. So pick up the leg cover, match it up to that hole, and then you tighten it. So now the two leg stands are set. We're just going to keep this aside and bring up the continuation of the leg, which is this other pan. It has two holes. It depends on how high you want your machine to be. So if you go for the second opening, I think the machine is going to be high, but that's actually where I left it because I'm quite on a tall side. Okay, so if you go for the first hole, your machine is going to be short. Like the height is not going to be high. Just depends on you, so do what works for you. So it has three holes, two at both sides, then one at the center. You have to make sure that you tighten this very well. Okay, so after you've secured the extension of the leg to both sides of your leg, you're going to bring this other pan that is written email, and this is going to be more like used to join the both legs together, that is to keep them in place. You can see the part written email has to be facing out, while the other part that kind of has an opening has to be facing inside. So looking at it and the placement, everything should just tell you which way to go. If you're doing it correctly, you will know. If you're also doing it wrongly, you equally will know. So email is going to be facing upwards, and you're going to match the holes on the long span or long pan to the holes at the legs of the machine table. So you pick up your screw and also screw it tightly. I am emphasizing tightly. You wouldn't want your machine to come crumbling when you are sewing because of a wobbly fit. Now the legs have been tightly secured, and you can see the next thing I did was to turn over to the other side to attach the other long span there at the bottom of the leg. Okay, so this one you are going to fix it this way because it has some kind of control at the ends of the span. So you match it up with a hole like this. If you do it the other way, definitely the screw would not go through, or it won't be long enough to pass through. So you just tighten it up at both sides of the hose. Now the next stage is to attach the pedal. Now in attaching the pedal, you are going to position the machine the way it should stand, as though you've already set it up, and you have to read carefully the name written on your pedal. It is written email, so if you are positioning your pedal, you have to do it well in a way that it will also read email facing you. Okay, because if you do it the other way around, you're going to have leme, and I'm not sure that is going to work. So I made some marks as to where the fixing will start and end, just at the middle of the pan below. But in the long run, I noticed it wasn't convenient for me to pedal from that point, so I shifted it a bit towards the left. And this screw on my hand is what you're going to use to attach the pedal to the bottom pan. So to do that, you have to turn this up so that you have a better view of where your screw is going. So I made some markings on the pan to ensure that everything is well placed on both sides. So remember I told you later on I had to shift to the other side because it wasn't convenient for me. So there is a hole on the pedal. That is where you're going to fit in this stuff. Just lose the screw this way. Then the part that is showing at the tip of my hand goes into the hole of the pedal, and then you use the screw to screw it at the top, just this way. Okay, it goes this way. So this part should be facing up. Then if you do it correctly, you'll see this small hole at the top, which is where you're going to fit in the screw, and then with the other screw you tighten it under using your spanner or whatever. So to make sure that it's secured, you have to push the pedal towards one end so that it doesn't keep falling off. Then you secure the other part of the pedal also. So just push it to either the right or the left, whichever one you are doing first, and then you tighten it properly. So if this is done correctly, your pedal should be able to sit on its own without falling off anymore. You can see it is tightly fitted. So if you did everything well, by the time you turn it over, you'll see your email is facing you and not the other way around as leme. Now we are going to bring the table or the board, and then we'll continue with our fixing. First of all, we are going to attach the cupboard, that is the drawer of the machine, and those black things on the table are the drawer holder. Now you have to take note of where your drawer is going to be. It's going to be at the part that has the email or the longest part of the machine, because the other side is where you're going to be putting your reels, your threads, your pins, and or whatnot. So the other part that is a bit bigger is where the drawer should be. And remember that the part that has the tape has to be fixing you. Now your drawer is going to be on the left hand side. Yeah, okay. So the drawer holder helps you know how tight or how loose it's going to be when you fit it. So it's very, very important that you attach the drawer to the holder before you nail the holder to the board. So for the holder, you have this tiny 6 nails, and the holder has 3 holes on each side. So you may need your pencil to mark the point where you want the holes to be. Then you can remove the drawer and nail the holder to the table. So because the nails are so tiny, I had to make some openings first on the board before I screwed the nail to the board for easy passage. So now it's time for us to bring out the head of the machine, and this is the box and other tools that are in this particular box. So this is the machine head, and here I was thinking it's something I could just lift just like that, but trying to lift this, I realized how heavy this was. I took a break. This machine is really, really heavy. I was quite careful not to drop it on my leg or even leave the machine or allow the machine drop on the floor, and there could be some damages. So be careful when you're trying to lift this on your own. If you cannot, please call for help. The machine is really heavy. So I saw this reflect and I was like, wow, so there's something actually that could help. But on opening it, I saw that everything was written in Chinese. I don't even understand what was written there. I was like, why sell machine to Nigerians in a language they don't even understand or cannot read? If it had been in Igbo language, it would have been better for me. So I kept this aside and just continued with my struggle. So back to the machine leg, it's time to insert the board to the leg so that everything about the leg will be sorted out. Now I had to place it this way to make sure that I'm not going to make any mistake trying to fix the leg. Always remember that the path written email has to be on the left hand side while the machine is facing you. So before I continued with the board, I saw this stuff. I told you earlier I was juggling between YouTube videos. So I saw this stuff and I realized it was supposed to be somewhere here. And this serves as the connector of the pedal to the motor. So it has its own screw. And this particular tube came in the machine head box, okay, not on the table box. So it has three holes. You have to look for the nail or screw that matches the hole. Then you insert it into the three holes, just placing it the way you are seeing it right now, and you screw it together. So this time you have to lose the screw and then tighten it from the other side of the pedal. Okay, so that is fitted, and this is the rod I was telling you connects the pedal to the motor. I was just checking out to see if what I did was right. Now to mark the part where I'll be inserting the motor, I had to place this on the pedal to get a straight line, ensuring that the line is straight for my motor. This is how the motor is. It comes in really, really small, unlike the other industrial that has quite big motor. So those are the screws that I was going to need to do that. So I made some marking on my table just to make sure that the rod aligns properly on the pedal and on the motor. So these are the marks I made from under the table. Okay, so that's the position where I'm going to be inserting the motor. So always weigh everything before you screw. If you I had to do it this way just to make sure that I'm not putting the motor the wrong way. Okay, so weigh everything out before you screw. So I went ahead to make some markings as usual to locate where I'm going to be nailing my nail or nailing the motor to the table. And do not forget that you are going to make your screws as tight as possible. Now we are back to joining the board and the leg. So you have to measure to make sure that everything is at the center. You can see the tape in my hand. I needed to ensure that the machine leg and the board are well secured and everything is equal. Okay, so I'm also checking out to see if the connector of the pedal to the motor is also in a straight line, because you wouldn't want it to be in a diagonal line. It has to be on a straight line. So I think the difference I had between where the leg is and the board is about 3.5 inches on both sides, from the beginning of the board to the end of the board. So please take note of that. It has to be equal. So after marking, you find a suitable screw and attach the leg to the table. tightly, like very tight. Now I am done attaching my board to the table. I'm just going to raise this up and see what I have achieved so far. Okay, so we are back to the tabletop, and though that stuff you see there is like plastic or foam kind of. So you use the tiny nails to attach this to the board. I was actually having a hard time doing this because there was no space for me to hit the nail to the stuff for it to go through the board. So what I did was use my spanner and place the spanner in front of the nail and hit the spanner instead, and it worked just like that. So that was how I did that. So let me show you so you can see this part is already secured, and this is how I was able to achieve nailing that part. So just nail it a bit to keep it in place there. Then you bring your spanner, place it in front of the nail, and then you hit the spanner inside. The nail just goes in like that. Okay, so this other part, looking at the machine top, you can see the shapes. So all those shapes are going to go to where they are suited. Now the opening at the machine, the oil tray, has to be on the bigger part of your machine. You know, that's where you're going to be bringing out your reel and your shuttle from when you are sewing. So you pass the silicone. Is it silicone? It's not silicone, it's just more like plastic or foam. It has an opening which you're going to attach to the oil tray on all the sides. Looking at the tray, you know where each of them should fall in. So once you are done, you are going to fit the tray into the open space on the machine, just like this. So on the tray, you find that opening, and then you fit in this black stuff, more like the oil stopper that prevents oil from spilling from the machine. I guess that's the work. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to bring in our machine head, and then the long stuff you are seeing, you can just put it there. If you can't push it in with your hand, you can use your hammer or whatever to hit it so it goes in. It helps keep the machine when you are trying to maybe pick something from the oil pan, or you just when you push your machine to the other side, that helps keep the machine steady. So our machine is seated and everything is really coming to light. I am feeling myself at this moment. So that opening there is where you're going to connect your wire from. This stuff in my hand, we missed it earlier. It's supposed to be at this part of the machine. So I'm just going to raise this up. You can see the opening there. So you fit in that stuff into the hole there on both sides. Then you push it back into the rubber like stuff, and that's just it. Now the white cable in my hand, it's from the motor beneath the machine table, which you're going to be attaching to the head of the machine. You know, this is direct drive. It's entirely different, a different process for regular industrial machine. Okay, let me bring this closer so that we'll see where to insert this. Now that white stuff also is going to house this. So if you put it correctly, it has to stick this way. Then the power connector or power cable will be attached to this other cable. So everything has to go into that hole. Now this is my power cable. You have to put in the power cable from under, okay? So both of them has to come from under. It also has an opening inside, which you have to take note of. If fitted properly, it should be able to go in. One should go into the other without stress. So once it goes in, you can see it is closed. Then you can now tighten with the cover there. Now the other part is the lever. I don't know what it's called, but you already know it helps you to lift up your needle when you are sewing, especially when you don't want to use the one on the machine head. This goes under the table as well. So just pass it through the hole on the motto beneath your table, and then you tighten it correctly. You can do the level that is okay for you, but make sure that the black stuff there faces where your nail will be. Okay, it has to be fixing where your nail will be. You know you're going to be using your nail or your labs to be raising it up. So at this point, just do what works for you, but ensure to tighten it very, very well. So the level I left mine is I made the length of the stuff to be touching the bottom of the tray, of the oil tray. So this is the part that houses the thread. This is how it comes. So I had to take out one silver, put in one silver first, then the black. This goes on top of the table, and then the other silver and the screw goes beneath the table, which you're going to use to tighten it together. Ensure that everything you are doing is very, very tight, please. You need a screwdriver, or you need this other type of screw. Now for the oil, what's it called, the thread tray, you're going to be attaching it to this part of the machine tool. Okay, it's two, but look out for this one. This is where you're going to be attaching the thread tray, and you have to fix it with these two rods. So open your screw, passing your thread tray this way, then you fit it into the holder, and then from the other side you tighten them together. You also do the same thing with the other tray. So you bring the stuff and just push it down into the thread tray. You already know how this is going to come out, okay? So once we are done now, we are going to attach this to the rod we already placed on the table. So in tightening this, you have to leave about 2 inches to 1.5 inches, so that the other part of the rod that would hold the thread can be fitted. So just tighten it properly, use your screw or whatever you have, but make sure that it is tight enough. So the last part is this one. So you pass this through this other hole. Make sure that the black part starts from the top or rest at the top. So this other has to be tightened also. You have to make everything very tight, otherwise it will keep coming down. Now you pick up the stuff in my hand. You can place it on the one already on the table and insert the other, then tighten the both of them, or you can fit it to the one on top you're still holding in your hand, but just make sure that you join the both of them together. That is what it does for you. So when you are done, you can see that is where your thread will pass through, and this is what your machine should look like. So if you watched up to this point and you find this very helpful, please subscribe, share this video, because seriously this saved me more than 50 pounds. Okay, and in Nigeria it takes about 5,000 naira to have this installed for you. So you may have someone that this could be a business for. Just share this video and give me a thumbs up if I did well. You can like, comment, and stay tuned on the channel, because from now we are going to be bringing you amazing sewing tutorials. Yes, let's make our life easy this year. So I'm wishing every one of us a very beautiful 2024. Is going to be our year of bountiful increase. So please, before you go, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Bye. Take care.